Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. For IGCSE students, today, inshallah, we are going to study esters. Esters are chemical compound, organic compound. Organic compounds are formed from the reaction between alcohol and carboxylic acid. Esters, organic compound, mean that they contain carbon and hydrogen and oxygen. They are formed from the reaction between alcohol and carboxylic acid. Let's see how can we name esters, how can we name esters, how can we identify esters, and how can we draw the structure of esters. What are esters? Esters are organic compounds formed from the reaction between carboxylic acid and alcohol, as I said. So if you have a carboxylic acid that reacts with an alcohol, they finally form something is known as esters. How can we name esters? First of all, let's know how can we name alcohol first. How can we identify alcohols and how can we name alcohol? Organic compound alcohols are organic compounds contain hydroxyl group. So if I have a chemical compound, how can you know this compound is alcohol? Let's see here, if I have here ROH, ROH. R here means carbon atoms. OH means that is the hydroxyl group here. So what is R? It is variable. Variable, carbon atoms. For example, let's take an example to see how can we name alcohol and how can we know the structure of alcohol. Let's see how can we name alcohols. Again, alcohols here, I have any alcohol, you can find OH group, as I said, hydroxyl group, ROH. OH here represents hydroxyl group. So what is R? R is a variable, carbon atom. So on naming any compound, we have to focus on how many carbon atoms. Ignore completely hydrogen, and focus on what? On how many carbon atoms and the bond between carbon atoms. Here, if you have one carbon atom, we call it meth. So if the compound contains a carbon atom like this and contains a hydroxyl group O and H, take care. H here is joined to O. H is joined to O, not joined to carbon. So carbon OH, it is meth. Why meth? Because you have one carbon atom. If the compound contains two carbon atoms, it will be F, like this. OH, it is an alcohol. How can you know this one is an alcohol? You can find OH. How can you know this one is F? You can find two carbon atoms. If three carbon atoms, if you find three carbon atoms, it will be prop. It will be prop. 1, 2, 3, and OH. So if this compound is what? Is an alcohol. Why an alcohol? Contains OH. Why prop? Contains 3 carbon atoms. But here it has 4 carbon atoms. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then OH. So this one is what? An alcohol. Why an alcohol? Contains OH. Why but? Because it contains 4 carbon atoms. If you focus here, or your question here, where are the other hydrogen atoms? We can draw them. No problem, You have to draw them, but focus on how many carbon atoms in the compound. So this one is but 4 carbon atoms, and OH. So how can you know this compound is an alcohol? Focus on what? OH. One oxygen atom. Again, one oxygen atom means, is joined to H, is joined to H. This one is mean hydroxyl group. So this compound may be something like aldehyde, but once H is joined to O, it is an alcohol. This one is hydroxyl group. Hydroxyl group. How can we name alcohol? We add OL at the end of the compound. So this one, if the compound contains one right carbon atom, C O H. What can we name this one? Methanol. 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 If the compound contains two carbon atoms, like this one here, one carbon, two carbon, like this, what can we call the compound? Two carbon atom means F. Ethanol. 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 If the compound contains three carbon atom, and then like this, what can we call the compound? The compound will be propanol. Propanol. Propanol, or sometimes one propanol. And then if the compound write four carbon atom, like 1, 2, 3, and 4, how can you know this one is alcohol? You can find OH, and you can find four carbon atoms. Will be butanol, butanol, or one butanol, and so on. Pentanol, hexanol, heptanol, and so on. So for alcohol, we add OL at the end of the compound. That's how can we name alcohol. How can we name alcohol? Let's see, right, how can we name acid? But before that, we can have here alcohol like CH3OH, one carbon atom, and methanol. Two carbon atoms, 1, 2, will be ethanol. Three carbon atoms, 1, 2, 3, propanol. Four carbon atoms will be butanol, and so on. That is for the structure of alcohol. If we want to see the structure, right, this one is known as molecular formula, and this one is a structural formula. If we want to see the structural formula for alcohol, this one methanol. Why methanol? Again, why methanol? One carbon atoms and OH. One carbon atom here in the middle and OH here, methanol. If you have two carbon atoms, like this one, CH3, CH2, and this one will be ethanol, O and H. Look here, O is joined to H, H is joined to O. The third one, or the third member, is propanol, or one propanol. 1, 2, 3, propanol, propanol. And the fourth one is butanol, or one butanol. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and OH. That's how can we name alcohol. How can you know alcohol? Again, how can you know this compound is alcohol? Find what? OH group. This is the indicator. Tells you this one is what? Alcohol. Then count how many carbon atoms. One carbon atom, methanol. Two carbon atom, ethanol. Three carbon atom, propanol. Don't forget, 1 meth, 2 eth, 3 prop, 4 but. What about the carboxylic acid? Carboxylic acid, organic compound, contains what? Contains carboxyl group. What is carboxyl group? That is the first question. What is carboxyl group? Carboxyl group means carbon atom joined to oxygen atom, carbonyl group, and hydroxyl group. So it has two oxygen atoms. Two oxygen. The compound contain, don't forget, two oxygen atoms. One of the oxygen atom is joined to H. Again, how can you know this one is an acid? Carbon atom at the end of the compound is joined to oxygen atom by double bond, and then OH here. Right, again. Right, how can you know this one is an acid? A carboxylic acid. That is carbon joined to double bond with oxygen, and single bond with hydroxyl group, like this. But we don't say hydroxyl group. We call all of it is what? All of it is what? Carboxyl group. Carboxyl group, carbonyl group, and OH group. Again, this is what? An acid. So how can you know this one is an acid? You can find two oxygen atoms. an acid contains 2 oxygen atoms. Someone will tell me, teacher, right, for esters has 2 oxygen atoms. Yes, both of them, acid and esters contains 2 oxygen atoms. But if you find here H is joined to O, right, without thinking, this is an acid. It is an acid. If we replace this H with other carbon atom, as we will see inshallah later, it will be, right, what? It will be ester. So ester contains, right, oxygen at 2 oxygen atoms. Acid contains 2 oxygen atoms. But the difference between them, if you can find O and H, attach it together to the carbon atom, this one is what? A carboxylic acid. So how can we name carboxylic acid? Again, the rule here, you have to know how many carbon atoms. If you find what, it will be methanoic acid. Oic. So we add oic, oic, oic acid, methanoic, ethanoic, propanoic, butanoic, pentanoic, hexanoic, hep, and so on. Decanoic, and so on. So that's for organic, for the acid. So again, for alcohol, we add OL, methanol. For acid here, we have methanoic. Again, for alcohol, as we studied, we add methanol. But for acid, we have methanoic acid. Methanoic acid. Ethanol for alcohol. Ethanoic acid for acid. So once you hear ethan, it means 2 carbon atoms. Once you hear prop, it means 3 carbon atoms. It is an alcohol, we call it propanol. It is an acid, we call it propanoic acid. Propanoic acid, and so on for all the acids. Let's see here the structure of other the molecular structure and the molecular formula and the structural formula for acids. Here, methanoic acid. How can you know? First of all, how can you know this one is an acid? Carbon atom has 2 oxygen atoms. Second thing, oxygen is joined to hydrogen. Oxygen is joined to hydrogen. Double bond between oxygen and the carbon, and another one OH. How many? Ask yourself, how many? So before going, how many? Number one, identify it is acid or not. How can you know that? Carbon atom joined to double bond to O, and then here OH here. So this one is an acid. 2 oxygen atom. One is double, one is single. This single contains H. So second one, how can you know this one is acid? Propanoic acid here. Carbon atom joined by double bond to 1 oxygen atom, and another oxygen atom is joined to H. For carboxyl group, right? For carboxylic acid, how can you know this one is acid? Find 2 oxygen atoms. One by double bond, and another one is joined to what? H. Is joined to what? H. Don't forget that. So this one is methanoic. Why methane? Contains only 1 carbon atom. Methane. Because acid, methanoic. Second one here, second member here, ethanoic acid. How can you know it's an acid? 2 oxygen atoms. One of them is right double bond, another one here is single bond, and H. So how many oxygen atom now we have here? 2. 1, 2. Ethanoic, or we write it CH3COOH. Third member, prop. We said that meth means 1, eth means 2, prop means 3. So this one is prop. How can you know prop? 1, 2, 3. How can you know this one is an acid? 2 oxygen atom. One of them is what? Double bond. Another one is what? Oxygen joined to H. So this one is propanoic. The fourth member in an acid is butanoic acid. How can you know it is an acid? 2 oxygen atom. One of them is joined to double bond. another one, another oxygen atom is joined to H. How can you know? It is butanoic acid 1, 2, 3, and 4. That is the structure of acid. Let's revise what we studied. Alcohol, number one, esters are compound formed by alcohol and acid. Alcohol, we add OH. You can find OH at the end of the compound, and we add all. Methanol, butanol, hexanol. For acid, we add oic, methanoic acid, and so on. Esters, react. This one is word, equation. Acid react with alcohol in presence of a catalyst or another acid like sulfuric acid to form ester and water. Some questions ask you, what are the conditions for formation of esters? Presence of acid or presence of catalyst. This one here represents the reaction between propanoic acid or sometimes propanoic acid and an alcohol to form ester. Look here to the acid. How can you know this one is acid? Again, 2 oxygen atoms. One of them is double bond, another one is OH. How can you know this one is alcohol? Here you have alcohol. How can you know this one is alcohol? You have here O and H. O and H here. 1 oxygen atom only. So alcohol, 1 oxygen atom. Acids, 2 oxygen atoms. And as I told you here, one of them is OH, another one is double bond. They will react to form what? Esters. What's the idea, of ester formation? Look here, to the drawing down. For alcohol, we remove H here. For alcohol, we remove H. This reaction is known as condensation reaction, or ester formation, or esterification. So this one, esterification or ester formation to form ester. And it is a kind of reaction is known as condensation reaction. How can we form ester? We remove hydrogen from alcohol. And we remove, hydroxyl group, OH group from what? From the acid. OH from the acid. H from the alcohol. They form what? Water. Because you know that here, water basically consists of H2O, H2O, so this one, H, OH. HOH here means that this one is water. H comes from alcohol and OH comes from what? OH comes from the acid. Again, how we remove, or let's say we take hydrogen from alcohol. We take hydroxyl group from acid. Both of them HOH, now they form water. What happened? Now, what are the remainders of the compound after removing H, after removing OH from the acid? They form ester. Now I want you to compare between the drawing on the left and the drawing on the right. Here, for the acid, you have 1 carbon atom, 2 carbon atoms, 3 carbon atom, and double bond. Look at the ester here, 1 carbon atom, 2 carbon atom, 3 carbon atom, and double bond. So you can say this part comes from acid. Again, count how many carbon. It is very important to count the number of carbon atoms. 1, 2, 3. Again, here you have here 1, 2, 3. Carbon A, carbon atom, and double bond. Don't forget double bond in acid. And alcohol has no double bond here. So 1, 2, 3. This one is double bond here. 1, 2, 3. And then, what about the alcohol? Here, alcohol has 2 carbon atoms, and this one has 2 carbon atoms. and then oxygen atom by single bond. Where can you find the oxygen atom? The oxygen atom here come in this region here. Teacher, right? Why I wrote it right on the left side? Doesn't matter. Write it because this compound can be reversed because this one in space. Like if you have something like a box, you can rotate it from the left side and right side. If you look here, right, this one is an ester. The ester now contains what? Two oxygen atoms. Like what? Like acid. We said that acid has two oxygen atoms. And ester has two oxygen atoms. Compare between acid and ester. You have to know the difference between acid and the ester. This one here, two oxygen atoms. Good. But one of them is what? Is joined to H. While here, this one, right, ester, two oxygen atoms. One of them double bond, like the acid, but another oxygen atom is not joined to H. It is joined to what? Carbon atom. Joined to carbon atom. Again, it's joined to carbon, not joined to H. The main difference between acid and ester, right, is this point. In acid, O and H. In ester, O, C, C. O and doesn't matter, one carbon atom, two carbon atom. Oxygen is not joined to H. That is ester. So ester is a compound, comes from the reaction between, right, acid and alcohol. How can we name ester? That is the point now. This reaction here, right, is reversible reaction. Reversible reaction means here, right, this one can go in two directions. That's why we add here, right, catalyst to allow it to go in one direction. Let's see, right, how can we name this? How can we name ester? Look to this one here. This one. How many carbon atoms? First of all, identify this one, ester or acid or alcohol. All this compound here. Count how many carbon atoms? No, don't count. Find how many oxygen atoms at the beginning. Go to find how many. Yeah, I have here two oxygen atoms. One here, O, double bond O, another O atom. So I have two. So once you find two oxygen atoms, it may be what or what? Acid or ester. This one is an ester. Why? Because, right, oxygen is not joined to H, it's joined to carbon. Where did the part come from, the acid? This one come from the acid. Where is the part that come from, right, alcohol? This one come from alcohol. So the one on this one come from acid, double bond. This one come from alcohol, is joined to oxygen, single bond. Which one comes first? Which one comes next? The one that comes first is what? From the alcohol. We write this one from alcohol first. So I can say this one will come here first. Then the part come from the acid will be second here. How many carbon atoms in this compound which come from alcohol? How many carbon atoms here? One carbon atom. And I told you, one means meth, two means F, three means prop, four means but, and so on. So this one is one carbon atom. One carbon atom at the beginning, we call it what? We call it meth. So this one here will be methyl. Methyl. So the part that come from alcohol, we call it methyl. Teacher, it is methanol. Yeah, if it's alcohol only, we call it methanol. But once it comes a part of ester, we call it methyl or methyl. Methyl or methyl. Methyl or methyl. Why meth? Because only one carbon atom here. If you look here, one carbon atom is methyl. And this compound contains two carbon atoms. It is ethane. Ethane. Wait. Ethane wait. So right here, to make it clear to you, look to this part here. For ester, you have here two parts. The first part, right, we count how many carbon atoms and we add YL at the end. The second part, we add methane weight, OATE at the end of the compound. If the compound one carbon atom here is called methyl or methyl ethanoate. Ethanoate. Again, methyl ethanoate is an example. Type before understanding it. Methyl come from alcohol. Ethanoate come from acid. Why it? If you remember, we studied sulfuric acid, and the salt of sulfuric is sulfate. Nitric acid, nitrate, and so on. For phosphoric acid, phosphate. Methanoic acid, methanoate. Ethanoic acid, ethanoate. Propanoic acid, propanoate, and so on. So ester consists of two parts. The first part comes from alcohol, we add YL. Second part, right, from acid, we add 8. Methyl ethanoate. Methyl ethanoate. Let's go to the example that we have again to see right here. This one here. And which part we are going to start? I'll start with this part from alcohol. This one doesn't contain double bond. Doesn't contain double bond. So this one will be methyl. Why methyl? Because here this one contains one carbon atom. And the second part here comes from acid. How many carbon atoms? 2. Methyl ethanoate. Methyl ethanoate. Methyl ethanoate. Why methyl here? One carbon atom. Why ethan here? 2 carbon atoms. Double bond ethanoate. Single bond methyl. So the first one, again, the first part of the compound, so you can understand that ester, 2 parts. The first part, YL, second part, weight. The first part, methyl, ethyl, propyl, doesn't matter, and second one, weight. Which one take 8? Double bond. Which one take YL? Single bond with oxygen. So this one, let's name this one. This one is what here? Shabab, this one is what? This one is methyl ethanoate. Methyl ethanoate. Here, so this one is what? Methyl here, because this one is one carbon atom. And here, ethanoate, because it contains 2 carbon atoms. Let's go to second one. Try with me again. Here is the first step. Is it an acid or ester? It is ester. Why ester? 2 oxygen atom. One oxygen atom is double bond, another oxygen atom here. So this one is what? Ester. This one is ester, not acid, because oxygen here does not contain, doesn't join to H. It is joined to carbon atom. So here, this one is ester. How can we name ester? Go to this point, oxygen, not double bond, oxygen single bond, divide it like. Count how many oxygen atom? 1. How many carbon atom? 1, 2, 3. 3 means 1 means meth. 2 means S. 3 means prop. So this one is prop. But this one is single bond. We call it propyl. Come from alcohol, propyl. The second part here, right, from acid. How many carbon atoms? We count all carbon atoms in the compound. 1, 2. 1 means meth. 2 means F. So this one is F. Ethanoate. Propyl ethanoate. Propyl ethanoate. Why propyl or propyl? This one here, 3 carbon, propyl. And this one here, right, 2 carbon ethanoate. Why ethanoate? Because it comes from an acid, contains double bond. So the idea of ester again and again and again, right, we have 2 parts. A part comes from alcohol, we add YL. A part comes from acid, we add OATE. The part comes from acid, from alcohol comes first, followed by the part that comes from and Let's see another example. Here. Here's the name of the compound. Let's try to draw them. CH3, CH2, COOCH. The first question. This one, alcohol or acid or ester? I told you, once you find two oxygen atom, maybe what or what? It may be ester or acid. But once you find here O and H, it is an acid. So this one, not an acid, it's an ester. Type. Teacher, I want to know how can this one be an acid, like the following. If I write it like the following. If the compound is written like this, here, CH3, CH2, COOH. In this case, this one is an acid. This one acid. Two oxygen atoms, but one of them is joined to H, this acid. 1, 2, 3, it will be propanoic acid. But once here, oxygen is joined to carbon, it is not an acid, it is an ester. It is an ester. How can we name them? How can we name them? I want you to count carbon and hydrogen atom in all of them, but not now, by the end of this slide. Again, how can you name it? Here, try to divide this compound into two parts. Oxygen here and oxygen here. So to name ester, if the compound, I give you the molecular structure like this, right? Split it, divide it, separate. Oxygen atom away from each other. These twin away from each other. And then this one come from alcohol. This one come from acid. The part come from alcohol, we write it first. How many carbon atoms? One. One means what? I told you. One means meth. Two means F. Three, prop. Four, but, and so on. So this one will be here. I write here in this area. Here I methyl. Why methyl? Come from alcohol. So this one comes first. And then the second part, 1, 2, 3. 3 means what? 1, no, you have to memorize it. 1 means meth, 2 means F, 3 means prop. So this one here, 1, 2, 3, prop. But this one from acid, propan with ester. Methyl propanoate ester. Methyl propanoate ester. Methyl propanoate ester. And now let's see, right, how many carbon atom and how many oxygen atom in this compound. One carbon atom in all the compounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one is C4. This one is C4. Why C4? 4 carbon atom. And then, how many oxygen atom? 2, O2. How many hydrogen atom? 3, and 2 means 5. 3, 5 and 3 equals 8. It will be H, or 3, C4H8O2. That's the first compound, and how can we name it? Second compound. How can we name second compound? The same method. Here, oxygen here and oxygen. How many carbon atom? 1, 2, 3. This one comes from alcohol. So we write it first. 1 means meth, 2 means F, 3 means prop. It will be prop. Propel. We add YL. Y comes from alcohol. Second part, 1, 2. 1, 2 means ethane weight. As I told you, propyl, ethanoate. Propyl, ethanoate. Propyl, ethanoate. Why propyl? 3. 1, 2, 3. Why? Here, ethanoate, 1, 2. How many carbon atoms? How many oxygen atoms? And how many, right, hydrogen atoms? How many carbon? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Will be C5. How many hydrogen atoms? 3 and 2 equals 5. 5 and 2, 7. 7 and 3 equals 10. It will be H10 and O2. Third compound. Ester, yes, contains 2 oxygen atoms. One of them is joined to C, not H, and so on. This one will come first. So what is the name of this compound? And why start with methyl? Why methyl? 1 carbon atom. And here 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, right? So it will be butane. Butane. Weight. Methyl, butane, weight ester. Methyl, why methyl? 1 carbon atom. Why butane weight? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Methyl butane weight. Methyl butane weight. How many carbon? 1. Methyl, 1. Butane weight 4, so it will be C5. C5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. How many H in the compound here? 3 and 2 equals 5. 5 and 2, 7, and 3 equals 10. 10. How many oxygen? 2. Oh my God. Here, the same molecular structure, C5H10, C5H10O2. They have the same molecular structure, but different names. We call them isomers, not isotopes. Isotopes, right, when you can find two, if you remember, isotopes like Na, for example, 1123 and Na 1124. The same atoms, but they have the same number of proton and different number of neutrons. This one is known as isotopes, but this one is known as isomers. But in an exam, he give you right the molecular structure and ask you to write both of them. Right, we will explain it later, inshallah. The fourth one here, right, how can you name the compound here? Count it. I'll spell the compound like this here. 1, 2, 3. So this one is known as 1, 2, 1 meth, 2 F, 3 prop. Will be propyl right here. Propyl here. Propyl. Propyl. Propyl what? 1 carbon atom here will be propyl methanate. One will say, teacher, here this one C and H, it's alcohol. No. Alcohol O is joined to H, but this one carbon is joined to H. So this one propyl methanate. How many carbon atoms? 1, 2, 3, 4. C4. How many H? 1 and 2 equals 3. 3 and 2, 5. 5 and 3 will be H8 and O2. So this one and this one are isomers. A and D are isomers, while B and C are different isomers, not isomers, because they have the same structure. But we focus now on what? On how can we name esters. Let's take another example. I want you to now draw again. I want you to know how can you draw the uh, the, the structure of ester. As I told you, have molecular formula and the structural formula. Here, he will ask you to draw, right, the structural formula of an ester. Let's see, right, I have here 4 examples. The first example, ethyl ethanoate. Ethyl ethanoate. How can you draw ethyl ethanoate? First of all, right, ethyl ethanoate. Once you want to draw, don't start with ethyl. Don't start with something contains YL. Start with something contains AT. Here, right, let's see how. here I have here يا شباب إيثانويل إيثيل minutes here ethyl ethanoate. Let's see how can we draw ethyl ethanoate. As I told you, start with 8 first, then ethyl. Ethan, eth means 2 carbon atoms. So I'll draw now 2 carbon atoms. The first one is 1 and 2. He said ethanoate, it means double bond. So I'll draw here double bond here like this. And then he said ethyl. We said that how can you know this one is ester? Contains 2 oxygen atoms. Don't forget oxygen atom. And I have only one, and have here on the same carbon atom here, I'll draw another one carbon. He said ethyl. So this one has another ethyl means 2. So here I have here 2, right, 2 what? 2 other carbon atom, 1 and 2. And this is the compound without what? Without hydrogen. And now, how many bonds around hydrogen? 4 bonds. 4 bonds. So now I try to draw 4 bonds around each other. This one has only 1. I need 1, 2, 3. And here I drew here H, H, H. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oxygen has 2. Don't forget 2 bonds. Oxygen has 2 bonds, 2 single bonds here, but here 2 one double bond. This carbon has 1, 2, needs here 1 and 2, 1, 2, and this carbon atom has 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one needs here 1, 2, here 2, and here 4. So each carbon atom has now 4 bonds. Has 4 bonds. This is the structure of ethyl ethanoate. Second one, ethyl methanoate. Ethyl methanoate. How can you draw this one? Start with ethyl or ethyl? No, I start on drawing. We start with 8. He said methane. Methane means 1 carbon atom. 1 carbon atom. And 1 carbon atom. And 8 means double bond here, double bond, and here 1 oxygen atom. Ethyl. Ethyl is joined to this 1 carbon atom. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. So, and after that, complete the 4 bonds for each carbon atom. So this one here, I have here H. Here, H is on each one. This is the idea of drawing what? Drawing the chemical structure of esters, and we complete the hydrogen. That is ethyl methanoate. I want you guys to draw the second one. I'll give you time to draw it and write. Let's see how can we draw that. Methyl ethanoate or methyl, let's take D, methyl propanoate. Methyl D, focus on D. Methyl propanoate. Which part we are going to study first? Methyl propanoate, methyl or methyl or propanoate? Propanoate first or propanoate first? Propanoate, how many carbon atom? Meth means 1, F means 2, prop means 3. So I start here with propanoate, I start with 3. So I'll draw the compound here, in the middle. Propanoate. So I draw here propanoate, 1, 2, and 3. After that, 8 means double bond, so I draw here double bond. And ester means 2 oxygen atoms, 1 and 2. So this one is propanoate. This one contains 4 bonds, so I have to add H atoms on each one. Here. Be sure that count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each atom has 4 bonds. Methyl or methyl come from alcohol, so this one here will be like this. one carbon atom here. That's the structure of methyl propan. I think it's clear now. Let's take the second one to see how can we solve the next. This question, I think right here, it's June, right, 2018, paper 3, right, question number 39. Which esters have the molecular formula C5H10O2? As I told you before, right here. 2 oxygen atom means ester, and so on. Don't forget that. You have many things about this question. You can draw the compound. I can draw the compound, and it will take longer time, or count how many carbon atom directly. So let's count them first, and then we can draw. Ethyl propanol. Ethyl means, meth means 1, eth means 2, prop means 3. So here, right here, this one here, meth means 2, prop means 3. So they have five carbon atoms. So this one is 5. Second one, prop ethanoate, propyl ethanoate. Prop means 3, ethanoate means 2. So it has 5 carbon atoms. Butyl methanoate. Butyl means 4. Meth means 1. Meth is propyl. Don't forget, meth is propyl. So this one has but 4. Meth means 1. So the total number of carbon atoms 5. The last one, methyl butanoate. Methyl butanoate. Meth means 1. But means 4. So here I have 5 carbon atoms. 8 here means that this one oxygen, 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 oxygen. So for the carbon atoms here, we have 5 carbon atoms. For oxygen atom here, while and 8, it has 2 oxygen atoms, 2 oxygen atoms, 2 oxygen atoms, 2 oxygen atoms. So the oxygen atom will be 2, and for H, all of them contains. That's without drawing. Without drawing. So the correct answer now have 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's about the molecular form. But now let's see, draw one of them. Let's draw one of them. Number 2. Let's draw number 2. Propyl ethanoate. Which one we are going to start? Ethanoate first. So ethane means 2 carbon atoms. So I draw here 1 and 2. 8 means double bond. Propyl here means I have oxygen here, and then prop again. Meth means 1, eth means 2, prop means 3. So I have here 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then continue drawing the hydrogen atom. And now propyl ethanoate, that is propyl, and this one ethanoate. Propyl ethanoate. Another example here, number 4. Methyl butanoate. Methyl butanoate. Which one I'll draw first? Butanoate. So I'll draw butanoate first. Right here, butan 1, 2, 3, 4. Because it's an ester, I draw here 2 oxygen atoms. 1 double bond, 1 single bond. And methyl, this one will be here only 1 carbon atom, and then I'll continue completing. I'll add hydrogen. This is methyl, and this one here, butan. And now we know that how can we name esters. I hope that this session is important to you, and you understood what I said. Best regards, and thank you.